The 136th China's Import and Export Fair, commonly known as the Canton Fair, kicked off in Guangzhou on October 15th. According to reports from Chinese state media, this year's event attracted 250,000 foreign buyers from 203 countries, marking a record high in attendance and creating a lively atmosphere. However, feedback from participants on the ground indicates a noticeable trend this year. There was a significant decline in buyers from advanced Western nations, while small and medium-sized buyers from Belt and Road nations such as Russia, Iran, and several Middle Eastern and Central Asian countries increased significantly. On the evening of the opening day, a Shenzhen-based exhibitor with Douyin handle Boss Tan also observed this trend. In a video posted on Douyin, the Chinese TikTok, he mentioned that after a whole day, not a single American visited his booth, and only one or two Europeans came by, with the rest of the visitors being from Russia, India, and the Middle East.
Today is the first day of the Canton Fair, and here's our booth. Just giving you a quick glance. It's a small booth, so we can't show too many products. Look at our spot. There's no one in the aisles. It's now 5 p.m. Actually, there are a lot of people outside the venue, on the main pathway and at the entrance. Overall, the Canton Fair and other exhibitions look pretty much like this nowadays. In any case, we haven't seen any Americans at our booth. Maybe one or two Europeans, and the rest are from countries within the Commonwealth of Independent States, the Belt and Road nations, India, and the Middle East. So, I'll repeat what I said earlier. If you plan to get a booth here, especially a second-hand one costing around 70 to 100,000 yuan, think twice. For those who didn't come, don't feel bad. At least our first day, it's clear that there are fewer visitors from developed countries, but quite a lot from developing ones. And if you don't have some existing customers visiting, you'll feel even more disappointed.
The exhibitor explained that the lack of high-quality clients from Europe and the US has shifted the market focus at this year's Canton Fair, making product prices the primary determining factor for deals.
When they come by and ask about the price, if you're hesitant to give one, they'll leave immediately. So the price comes first. Now the entire market is all about price first, then the product. It's becoming harder to find a high-quality, high-priced market. You can make good products, but if the price is right, there's a market for them. At the same time, you need to focus more on Belt and Road countries, the Middle East, some African countries, and India. That's where your products can fit. So, if you make good, affordable products, the Canton Fair will definitely be a success. For us, with high-quality, high-priced products, it's a bit tougher.
Some exhibitors also shared video highlighting the lack of visitors, describing the scene as extremely quiet, with hardly any buyers in sight. The footage showed empty aisles filled only with exhibitors. Another exhibitor, Shandong Titan Special Vehicle Co. Limited, faced even more challenges. After the first day, Mr. Guo from the company posted a video expressing his disappointment.
The real effect of the Canton Fair is that we haven't had a single customer so far. Occasionally, someone comes by, but it's just an upstream supplier trying to sell their products.
If it was really quiet on the first day, let's look at how the situation was on day 2.
The second day of the Canton Fair, it's terrible. We haven't seen any customers, and now it's already 11 a.m.
Another exhibitor said, "This year's Canton Fair isn't as packed with people. Many just come in out of curiosity. Last year, scalped tickets were selling for 1,000 yuan each, and this year they're much cheaper, which shows the market isn't doing well. There aren't many people in Hall D for general mechanical parts either. I even got scammed by someone today, which was really disappointing." A local from Guangzhou commented, "In previous years, the Canton Fair was lively with drums and gongs, and flights were guaranteed. This year, there's been no noise at all. If I hadn't watched the videos, I wouldn't have known the fair was even happening." Another netizen remarked, "It's true, a bunch of Africans with buyer's badges are not even entering the venue. Instead, they're selling their entry slots for 500 to 800 yuan each." Many others express nostalgia for past Canton Fairs. Someone commented the Canton Fair used to be truly spectacular, with many English-speaking clients and visitors from Japan and Korea. The whole city of Guangzhou would be celebrating. Seafood restaurants along the Pearl River would be packed in the evening. I really miss those days. Now, however, most of the buyers seems to be from less developed regions in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, while customers from Europe, the US, Japan, and Korea are nowhere to be seen. One netizen wrote, "We'll never return to those times." Another netizen offered some consolation and wrote, "No worries, today might actually be the best day of the next 10 years. Doesn't that make it seem a bit better?" As in previous years, the Canton Fair remains free for foreign visitors, while domestic exhibitors must pay a high price for booth space. Exhibitors are given only 3 staff slots, and anyone else wanting to attend needs to purchase a 1,900 yuan ticket, sometimes at an even higher price from scalpers. Some exhibitors have voiced their dissatisfaction and have even argued with the organizers. Numerous netizens commented that the biggest winners of the Canton Fair are the organizers, profiting from both booth fees and ticket sales regardless of whether exhibitors secure any deals. One netizen exposed a particularly infuriating situation. Many buyers from Asia, Africa, and Latin America are receiving free tickets and then reselling them at high prices, a practice that has left many Chinese exhibitors feeling disgruntled. The Canton Fair, often referred to as China's barometer of foreign trade, is held twice a year, in spring and autumn. According to reports from People's Daily, this year's fair runs from October 15th to November 4th in 3 phases, focusing on advanced manufacturing, quality home products, and a better life. The first phase, from October 15th to 19th, features industries such as electronics and home appliances, industrial manufacturing, vehicles and parts, lighting equipment, and hardware tools. The report noted that nearly 800 more companies are exhibiting in person this year compared to last year, bringing the total of over 30,000. Notably, the industrial robots and smart manufacturing sections alone features nearly 400 companies with more than 1,500 booths, many showcasing humanoid robots and unmanned products making their debut. According to People's Daily, the fair attracted nearly 250,000 foreign buyers from over 200 countries, setting a new record. Of these, 76% were from Belt and Road countries, 20% from BRICS nations, and 13% from the Middle East. Once the largest buyer of Chinese exports, European and American countries accounted for just 12.5%, placing them at the bottom of the list. Based on reports from the venue and media coverage, this year's Canton Fair is characterized by several key trends. Number 1, large scale. The exhibition covers a total area of 1.55 million square meters with 55 sections and an unprecedented online and offline presence. Number 2, shift in buyers. On the first day, there was a noticeable increase in buyers from Belt and Road countries, especially from Russia, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan. Countries from the Middle East such as Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Dubai also saw a significant rise in participation. Meanwhile, buyer members from Africa and South America remained similar to previous years, but those from Europe, the US, Japan, and Korea continued to decline. Number 3, increase in smaller buyers. Unlike previous years, which were dominated by large clients, there has been a noticeable increase in small buyers this year, including retail customers. Number 4, focus on price over quality. Buyers are more focused on product prices rather than quality. Basic and low-cost products are far more popular than high-tech and expensive goods. Number 5, fragmented orders. There is a clear rise in the proportion of smaller, fragmented orders.
The Canton Fair opened yesterday, and there were huge crowds and a lively atmosphere. I have a few friends who are also attending this exhibition, and we had a long chat last night. Now it's hard to do well at the Canton Fair. Why? First of all, there are fewer European and American clients than before. Instead, there are more from the Belt and Road countries, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. Basic products are more popular now. Why? Because for these countries, as long as it works, it's good enough. If your product is good quality and reasonably priced, why wouldn't it sell?
The second day of the Canton Fair is over. Looking across the whole venue, many of the customers placing bulk orders are from Middle Eastern countries and they are very interested in electronic products, especially drones. It's not just the Middle Eastern customers. Foreign buyers this time are still mainly focused on auto parts, electronic devices, and new energy products. From what I've observed over the past 2 days, they care a lot about price. The first thing they ask is, what's the price? If the price isn't right, they might not want to learn more. Of course, there are still some willing to pay more for quality. Online trade channels are very developed now, and you should also pay attention to markets in Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia. Choosing the right channels and countries is really important nowadays. The Shenzhen-based exhibitor Boss Tan also observed that the energy storage industry is very popular.
One area that's really crowded is the energy storage exhibition zone. Why is it so popular? Energy storage has been booming in the past few years. From last year to this year, prices for energy storage materials, including solar panels and batteries, have dropped by 70 to 80%, so they've become affordable. A unique situation now is that solar panel raw materials are more expensive than the finished products. That means buying a finished solar panel is cheaper than buying the materials to make one. This year, batteries are a third of last year's prices, making them more affordable for everyone. Plus, at the Canton Fair, there are especially many customers from Belt and Road countries as well as from Africa. With the potential for geopolitical conflicts around the world, people want to stock up on energy storage. Also, in some parts of Africa, there's a shortage of electricity, so they need energy storage too. That's what's making energy storage so hot right now.
Despite some popular products, analysts remain generally pessimistic about China's foreign trade prospects. Liang Shuyuan, an assistant research fellow at the Institute of National Defense and Security Research in Taipei, told Voice of America that the shift in the Canton Fair's buyer demographics is unfavorable for China's export performance. Buyers from the Middle East, BRICS nation, and Belt and Road countries have far less purchasing power compared to those from Europe and the US, contributing only minimally to China's exports. Zhang Hongyuan, an associate professor in the Department of International Trade at Chi Li University of Technology in Taiwan, also told Voice of America that the global outlook for the first half of next year remains uncertain. As a result, companies worldwide are cautious in placing orders. Additionally, the outcome of the US elections in early November could influence future US-China trade relations. Moreover, China's recent aggressive monetary policies to stimulate consumption, such as large-scale currency printing, are likely to impact the yuan's exchange rate. Foreign buyers may delay placing orders until the yuan devalues further, allowing for lower prices. Zhang noted that many Taiwanese companies initially had no plans to attend this autumn's Canton Fair. However, after the Chinese government unexpectedly shifted from a passive stance in late September and introduced several stimulus policy signaling efforts to boost the economy, they decided to attend out of curiosity. Many of these companies are now observing whether China's offerings have improved and whether prices are lower before seeking quotes from Southeast Asia or India. He further explained that the Germany and France facing inflationary pressures, the economic downturn in Europe has become evident, naturally slowing their purchasing from China. Meanwhile, the US-China trade war continues to escalate, with the US repeatedly imposing trade barriers on China, forcing China to shift towards low-cost Belt and Road markets to survive for slim margins. However, Zhang cautioned that aside from Russia, which complements China by absorbing its light industrial products, many developing nations are not welcoming Chinese low-priced goods, fearing the impact on the domestic industries. Notably, the day before the Canton Fair opened, China's General Administration of Customs released disappointing September trade data, well below expectations. Exports in September grew by just 2.4% year-on-year, a significant slowdown from August's 8.7% growth, marking the slowest pace since April. Imports also grew by only 0.3%, down from August's 0.5% and well below economists' forecast. The sharp slowdown in export growth, coupled with a surprising Deceleration in imports suggests that manufacturers are aggressively cutting prices to clear inventories ahead of looming tariffs in the EU and other markets. Reports indicated that this weak data does not fare well for exports in the coming months, especially since less than one-third of China's imports are components for re-export, particularly in the electronics sector. Additionally, China's overall trade surplus fell from 91 billion US dollars in August to 81.7 billion US dollars in September, below the expected 89.8 billion. A recent survey of factory managers showed that manufacturing activity in China contracted sharply in September, with new export orders hitting a 7-month low. Liang Shuyuan analyzed the data, stating that China's economic outlook appears bleak. For instance, the Caixin China Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index PMI for September was 49.3, falling below the 50-point threshold that separates growth from contraction and hitting its lowest level since August last year. Meanwhile, the official PMI released by China's National Bureau of Statistics was 49.8, marking its highest level since May, but still remaining in contraction for 5 consecutive months. She added that many businesses have lamented the lack of new orders, warning that once existing orders are fulfilled, the outlook for the next quarter could worsen further. One of the few bright spots in China's export sector has been electric vehicles, which performed well in the first half of the year. However, the EU recently announced plans to impose a 35% tariff on Chinese electronic vehicles, which, if approved by the European Commission, could deal another blow to China's foreign trade. As a result, Chinese automakers are rushing to export their vehicles before the tariffs take effect. Liang also noted that in response to the US-China trade war and rising tariffs in Europe, many Chinese manufacturers have relocated production lines to countries like Vietnam to avoid high tariffs. Even major automakers GAC Group is reportedly planning to set up factories in Europe. As Western countries favor shortening supply chains, bringing production closer to end markets, the concept of made in China is undergoing a fundamental transformation. Li Henqing, an economist at the Institute of Information and Strategy in the US, observed that China's foreign trade is undergoing a supply chain restructuring. He pointed out that in the past, nearly all small commodities sold in the US were made in China, but now the origins are increasingly from countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, or Malaysia. In department stores, it's also becoming more common to see Indian-style clothing, a phenomenon rarely seen before. Li believes that the direction of procurement has shifted significantly, with global supply chains now being restructured and largely solidified. Once a de-Chinified industrial chain is established, it will be difficult to dismantle. Li explained that academic estimates suggest supply chain shifts take about 2 years to complete, and China has already lost nearly 2 years' worth of exports. As a result, the de-Chinification of Western supply chain is now firmly established, far from the short-term impact that Chinese officials have described. In conclusion, relying solely on orders from Russia and developing countries like Asia, Africa, and Latin America to sustain China's exports is unrealistic, especially for China's advanced manufacturing industries, which do not meet the demands of these nations. Basic manufacturing, which is more suitable for these countries, has already shifted to Southeast Asia and India. Therefore, the slowdown in China's exports cannot be reversed by a single trade fair.